Hi, it's Dr. Noel Williams, Optimal Health Associates, January 23rd, 2021 COVID update. Just as a point of reference, probably won't be doing quite as many as things are more stable. I'll try to start doing more written ones on a regular basis that are science oriented like I did the last one. So numbers, still about 200,000 cases a day. A lot of people passing away. I think one of the startling numbers, though, that came out this week is out of England, where up to a third, 25 to 30% of people who were hospitalized with COVID initially, who got discharged, end up coming back into the hospital within the first 4 to 5 months, and 12% overall died. So 12%, so it's kind of an interesting but sad number. And again, I'll touch on this in more detail in a minute, that once you get COVID, I've said this from the beginning, that it's much more serious than people make out, and there's a lot of long-term morbidity, and now we're seeing there's a lot of long-term mortality, where you get about essentially between a 600 and 1200%. Your risk of death is 600 to 1200% higher after you leave the hospital than when you're in the hospital because of the long-term damage. So, it's pretty concerning. So anyway, I'm saying so too much. So let's think about where we are right now. So Trump left, Biden's in charge. And this is not political, it's just observational. The key concept, which I've said before, is the same idiots who were there while Trump was there, Fauci, Collins, Redfield's thankfully gone, are still there. And so the NIH's job was to get the vaccine out. There was Operation Warp Speed, there was all this other stuff, but ultimately it was also the NIH's job. So where are we now? Well, there's way less vaccine than they said there was going to be. And again, that isn't surprising, but maybe it is surprising. So it's going to roll out much slower. The Biden administration continues to say they're going to roll out 100 million vaccines in the next 100 days. If that happens, I'm going to be so happy. It will be amazing because the vaccine data is awesome. But it's reasonably unlikely that's going to happen because everything is so totally disorganized. And it's disorganized not because of Biden, and not because of Trump. It's disorganized because the federal government can't do anything well. And Fauci and Collins can't do anything well. And Fauci's big comment this week, we're getting back with the World Health Organization, who has lied repetitively. So that makes this is going to probably get pulled. But I'm just describing, I'm not criticizing. The World Health Organization has lied throughout this whole thing, just like China has and just like a lot of entities have. So it's just very disappointing. So what do we have to focus on? One, I want you to focus on getting the vaccine if you can. The rollout's going to be really slow. In Oklahoma, the best way to get the vaccine is to call county health departments outside of Oklahoma County or Tulsa County. Some people get mad when I say that. This is the reality. You may not be able to get the vaccine, but if you do, it's great. And if anyone does, it's great because it lowers your risk eventually of getting the infection. And so we want the vaccines used. If we use the vaccines, even if they're in other county health departments in Oklahoma, lo and behold, we'll get more vaccines. The other thing is, you're not really taking it away from people, because all you have to do is call your local county health department, which is really everywhere else, the Oklahoma State Health Department. We want as many people vaccinated as we can. They are looking at, what tier you are, but the bottom line is if they have vaccine, they want to use it. There's going to be a holdup on getting the second vaccination, because there's not a vaccine supply. I actually think that's not super important. I want you to get your second vaccine, but I think if you look at the data, for most people, the first vaccine is going to be enough. Occasionally, someone's going to need more, especially if you're older. But again, I want you to get your second vaccine, but the first vaccine is going to give you immunity the vast majority of the time. There's going to be a Johnson & Johnson vaccine approaching. I've read one paper on it. The preliminary data look good, so definitely I'll be following that. In the meantime, it's all about the vitamins, all about the vitamins, all about the vitamins. That's what's going to keep you healthy. We've seen tons of patients in our practice do that, and they've done well. Likewise, the ivermectin's been phenomenal. It's just as phenomenal or more phenomenal than the Plaquenil. But let's get back to this long-term damage thing. When we look at what the standard of care is in this country, it's still to do nothing. Thankfully, I've noticed a trend with still to do nothing when you're diagnosed. Until you're sick enough to go to the hospital, you get nothing. That's the standard of care. That, I hope, one day will come back to haunt the people who've recommended that. And again, Redfield, who's now gone from the CDC, praise God, we can only improve. He's been essentially incompetent for the last 4 years, and especially the last year. This new, I'm blanking on her name, seems to be pretty clued in, so hopefully she'll be better. But we're still stuck with the people at the NIH who are vehement against anything except big pharma. So because of that, we're getting all this lung damage. We see people with ground glass changes in lung damage almost every day now in the hospital in our office post-COVID that we're trying to do some treatment strategies for. And there are things you can do. It's just frustrating that, if maybe people would have been treated early, this could have been avoided. So again, rambling, but that's how it is. So I'll update people more and more over time on the ground glass and other things we need to do. I definitely would encourage you to get the vaccine. The vaccine does not make you infertile. If anyone says that, they haven't read anything. The vaccine makes you immune. I've seen a lot of articles where reporters saying it decreases your rate of infection. Utter nonsense. It decreases how sick you get when you get infected. That is only in the first 7 days to 10 days after the shot, because you get partial immunity. It's after that, there's a 95% immune rate. So the question is, when is the government going to recognize that, since they wanted us all to get vaccines, and then say, oh, you can travel and do stuff, but it's not happening. So it's almost like you get the vaccine, you fought the battle, you believed, and then you don't get a reward for it by, oh, the government has a plan for you. If you travel and you go out of the country, you still have to quarantine. And they still want to acknowledge immunity in people who've already had it. And again, it's just very frustrating. But, sorry. Kim, any questions?
Yeah, I have a few, mostly about the vaccine.
Okay.
So after your second vaccine, is there a way to make sure that you have immunity? That
yes,
kind of ties in with
very simple. Get a COVID antibody titer, and it's a quantitative antibody titer. If your doctor says they can't do it, they're wrong. You can order it through LabCorp in the Oklahoma area. That's who we're using. It specifically gives you your antibody titer for the S1 RBD, a receptor binding domain of the spike protein. And that data shows that there's good protection against all the variants. That's the preliminary data. And it's seeming to get better and better on the South African strain and the Brazilian strains. So there's at least really good cross immunity, and there's immunity. I mean, because everyone neglects with this antibody thing, it drives me nuts. You have all these dumb people who are supposedly world expert scientists, and they forget that we have natural T killer cells that are part of our immune system that respond. They're forgetting about germinal B. They've forgotten all immunology. I mean, how Fauci could be in charge of that is beyond me, because he doesn't seem to know any immunology. None. So turn me off if you love Fauci. He can be on TV. You can look and worship his profile. He makes me sick to my stomach. Okay. He's criminally negligent, just so you'll understand that scientifically. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. On antibody testing, is there any reason to get an antibody test before you get the vaccine?
Not really. I mean, if you didn't know you had it and you have antibodies, it's great, but you don't want to get the vaccine within 3 months of having COVID. That's kind of the rule of thumb.
Okay. So there's big controversy. It's like after having COVID or getting the vaccine, are the masks protecting you or others? Can you still spread it? That's tons of people asking
The scientific answer is, if you're immune, you're immune. You can't spread it or give it to someone. I'm sorry. That's the whole thing with herd immunity. You're immune. So wearing a mask doesn't matter. The problem is right now you still need to wear the mask. I'm still wearing my mask. We have to wear our masks. Okay, so that it's not science, it's emotion, but no one wants to say that again, because if people can't understand anything. So the bottom line is, no, you're going to have to wear your mask till we have herd immunity, not because you don't have immunity, and not because you're not going to spread it. You're not going to spread it, if I said that right. The problem is the perception, and if you want to draw a line in the sand and be total doofus and tell people, oh, I've gotten the vaccine. Well, one, that's nice, because all these other people haven't, so you come across like you know what. That'd be like the people who I heard the story somewhere where two doctors were in a restaurant and said, "We don't have to wear a mask. We've already had the vaccine, and we're doctors, and we know more than you." No, you're an ass. You're not a doctor. You're an ass. So you have to recognize that within society, you still need to wear the mask. Not that I think it's important for you at all, but you just want to get along.
And right now it's the law, too.
Yes, it's an ordinance. In ordinance law, whatever.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is don't make waves. Just try to get along. You don't have to get all worked up about it. I mean, I get annoyed about it too, don't get me wrong. It's just you got to be smart.
So on the antibody testing, do they show, I know they show how high your antibodies are. Do they also show how long they last?
How long you last the antibodies doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Again, doesn't matter. It's where your antibodies come from. It's your B memory cells, and what the data is showing, whether if you have the infection originally, you are going from memory B cells that come from germinal B cells or memory B cells. So you have long-term antibody production and immune protection from COVID is what the data is pointing towards. But again, there's questions on if the variants will do this. You'll be as protected against the variants the variants so far if you just had an infection versus if you get the Pfizer or Moderna, which seem to have good cross protection against the variants.
If you get the vaccine but you have zero reaction, do you have the same immunity?
It's simple. Whether you get a reaction or not, it's 95%. Okay. You're immune. If you get your antibodies checked and they're elevated, you're immune. It's that simple. End of story. And again, the Fauci and the CDC said, "Oh, you shouldn't recommend that." Well, if people want to know, why not find out? It's a simple test. It's going to, I don't know how much it'll cost, $35, $50, something or other. But then, that's why I did it. So I can look at everybody and go, I have antibodies. I know I'm immune. I think it's wise. That way, you're safe. I wanted to know I was protected because I thought it was helpful.
After the vaccine, what is your opinion of visiting nursing homes?
My opinion is if you're vaccinated and you have antibodies, you can visit a nursing home. We have to apply so if I do a surgery on someone to fix something and I fix it, do we need to worry about it anymore? No, I fixed it. If you get a vaccine that makes you immune to COVID and there aren't any signs or symptoms or signals that your vaccine didn't work, so you got your antibody titer, you're immune. You can go visit people. Sorry, there's no point in doing the vaccine. This whole thing's incredibly stupid. There's no point in doing the vaccine if it doesn't change behaviors. It does. If the government doesn't say you can change your behavior and behaviors, why the hell are we doing it? There's no point. We might as well then just all get COVID, let it go through the population. We'll have a whole bunch of people die, and then we're done. But we could do it that way. But if we're going to do the vaccine, then we got to utilize the information.
I know I've seen recently the one thing they're saying is, well, you may be immune, but you could still carry COVID in your nostrils.
No, you're not. You're immune. Yeah, if wishes were fishes, yeah, you could have it on your hair. I mean, you're immune. It's not different than measles. It's not different than hepatitis. It's not different than chicken pox. No, you are immune. By your definition, you're immune. Anyone could carry the virus on their hands momentarily, irrespective of their vaccine status, and pass it. That is not what the vaccine is for. If you're worried about crap like that, don't ever leave your house. Stay at home or dig a pit and live in the pit. I mean, this is why it's all so stupid. You get the vaccine, you have the antibodies, you're immune, you can lead a normal life. Or there's no point in doing it. And anyone who says that you can't is wrong. Now, I'm not saying you can't wear your mask, that you can go maskless, because that would be impolite, and we need to be polite. But the science is, no, you don't need to wear a mask. It's idiotic. But we have to get along with everyone.
You're getting pulled.
But it's true. But you got to go with the flow until there's herd immunity. So anyway, that's it. This one won't be on long. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and the other one, and maybe you could do a written one on this. You had lots of people ask for the vitamin regimen, both if you haven't had COVID and also if you've been diagnosed with COVID. Maybe you could do a written one, and we can.
I'll do a written one tomorrow on that.
Yeah, and we'll put it on the website.
I hope. You know, I'm a little bit of a procrastinator, so I have enough stuff to do. But anyway, yeah, I'll get it done. Take care. This won't be on long. Bye.